Welcome to episode 2. We're going to start this episode with trying to position the engine mounts that I've got. So I got a Hasport engine mount kit, but comes with these nice isolated mounts. It's the prettiest CNC job. These mounts look super nice and they're really beefy. My only gripe so far is that I pulled them out of the box and there was probably there's probably about 6 or 7 pieces and there was no instructions. Not the biggest deal, but I had to do a lot of Googling and video searching and YouTubing and kind of poke around to find how various other kits were assembled. So I'm gonna just try and piece my way through this. I do know one thing that's kind of cool is that the trans was on the passenger side originally with this old motor, and with the new motor, with the TSX motor, the trans is going to be on the driver's side, so it flips the orientation of the motor, and because of that we need to cut off the passenger side motor mount and replace it with this guy. So that's going to be the first thing you see here. Okay, I'm going to pry this connector off real quick, and then I'm probably going to go change shirts because I actually kind of like this one, and I know once I start grinding that this shirt is going to die, so we're going to get this. Oh god, that's brittle. Come on. Jesus. There we go. Okay, get that out of the way. I think that's probably going to be fine for what we're doing. Probably not. Get this all the way out of the way. Okay, yeah, let's get this one over here. There we go. And we're gonna get this little guy over here. And just grab the big screwdriver. Okay, big screwdriver it is. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. What is holding that in place? I think for the sake of getting some space in here, let's just take this, we'll take the, what would you call this? This is like a brake line header, essentially. Brake line manifold. We'll just take that thing off. Okay, and I don't want to bend this thing much, if at all, right now, so I'm just trying to free up these brackets where they connect to the chassis. Okay. Okay, that's out. Still pretty stiff, but a little leeway here. Okay, so I don't know. It'd be great to just cut this thing right out of the way, but I kind of want it for later, just in case. So let's see. This thing's all wrapped up around this thing. Okay, well, I guess for now we're just gonna be careful with it. You're looking at the passenger side motor mount that came with the car, and how this is attached is with resistance / spot welding. So you can kind of see the dimples on the bracket. So there's like a big one right there. There's a couple small ones in there. There's some on the bottom part of the bracket. So basically that just puts a ton of energy into both sides of the metal and creates a weld, creates a bond between the bracket and the chassis. So what we need to do is we're gonna cut some of the bracket off and we're going to drill out where the spot welds are, and that will basically allow me to slowly take this thing off in a bunch of pieces. I'm sure it'll be annoying. We're gonna start with a 1/8 inch drill bit. It's a little easier to get through on this guy, this guy, this guy, and that guy. And let's see if this drill bit's even long enough to get through there. I always like to start with the shitty drill bits that I don't care about. So I got this Amazon set. Don't really give a shit about. Little drill bit, lots of speed. Okay, we're gonna go a little bit bigger now. I think, what is this? This is just over 1/4 inch. That's pretty close. I think we'll start there. You know, I like metric stuff, so these are metric bits because that's the only thing that makes sense, and Imperial's stupid. I need to charge this battery. That's okay, Ming. Okay, that's it for drilling for a second. Safety first. You know, people always call these things like the wheel of death, but I've only had like one break apart. And that was my own fault. That is tight. Yeah, need a pry bar on that one. Just gonna use this little pry bar here. That's pretty tight. We might have to get the Dremel out for that guy. Come up from the bottom, I guess. Kind of going the right direction there. Okay, I think those tacks are still on there pretty good. But it would also help if I was all the way through this. Yeah, let's see if we can get through that real quick. That's through some of it. Yeah, through the bottom part. Okay, let's see where those tacks pulled away. So we're on the right route. Hang on one sec, we're gonna drill bigger. Probably time to charge the battery. Time to charge both batteries. This is like Little Red. Big Red's custom. There we go. All right. So you can see we got this guy, this guy, this guy, and we're gonna just get this. I don't know. That's probably good enough. Back to the eye protection and ear protection, and we're just gonna get the doggo out of the garage. There's more of a cut this thing out in pieces kind of thing. Great example. People always use these things after they get this little like chip in it, and that's when they fly apart. So we're gonna change this. That's making a fucking mess. Now we're just going to use the sanding disc and we'll get those flat. All right, you might be watching this and thinking like, why not just use the thick grinding wheels? Because the thick grinding wheels are too abrasive. This kind of gives you a nice, like, incremental way to see how much you're grinding off before just grinding through this like 16th inch sheet metal. So okay, this was the big old boy I was telling you about. No, but you can kind of see I already went a little hard on part of it, so I think we'll get the Dremel out for that part. Okay, just go in Dremel mode. I think one would say like, oh yeah, I'd use a sander bit, but actually I think dragging these is a little more effective. Okay, you can see why I was saying don't use the big boy, because it can blow through that really thin sheet metal. I mean, that might have been thin to begin with, but depending on where this bracket sits, we'll fill that. So we'll just bridge weld that. Yeah. I know shapes. Okay, so what I do know is that this bolts right into this, there's like a little hole up here. That bolts in right there. Also, we had plenty of room. Okay, probably should have just looked at that first. So it bolts there, and then there's a screw under here that we're gonna put through this hole, and it sits right there. So plenty of room where we took that off. So what we'll do is just weld fill that later, and we'll grind it down and maybe putty it, be nice and pretty. It's not gonna be a big deal. So, so yeah, Okay, so that's where this is gonna sit, just like that. I think we're gonna take a second and we'll clean everything up because it's a fucking mess. We're gonna properly kind of set this bracket in real quick. I think we just sit there. Just need to get this little bolt out of here. It's kind of already out, but okay. Get a better view of where this is supposed to sit. There we go. We're gonna use this bolt actually right here to hold it down. And one more that we took out. Maybe this guy. Now, the instructions online, the videos that I saw said not to tighten this down too much because you can see it kind of wants to pull this away. So just said to make sure it's vertical before welding it in place. So it's going to be something like that. So that's kind of where that's going to sit. We'll probably do welds all along the body here, and that should be plenty to hold this thing in place. I don't really want to weld inside the circle because that's going to be impossible to get out if we need to take this out for some reason. So try and keep the welds in a place that you can get a grinder back in there if you kind of think about it. So we could definitely grind back out all of this right here, and that'll be more than enough to rip the whole fender apart. So that's fine. I'm gonna grab the other one that I know is, I think, kind of like the rear mount. And this is a two-piece. I think I found out a little bit about how this works, but this bolts in, let's see, maybe. Oh, I bet we have to take this mount out. So, yeah. So let's take this mount out, because these two back holes are gonna be kind of right where this thing's going. Look at this, I got a new tripod and everything. Get you guys right up in the game. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if you can see this. No problem. Same thing back here. No problem. Oh. Okay, there's one more bolt somewhere. Is it in the bottom of this thing? There's a tiny chance I can just get some of this stuff out of the way and then go straight to the mount. I got a socket on it, but I can't get anything at the socket, of course. Need 2 hours of service just to get the rear fucking engine mount off the car. You just go right at it without the swivel. Probably not. Maybe. Does that work? Haha! Jesus. That fucking bolt. That was stupid. Like, look at that. No one thought about that when they were trying to do service. Okay, let's resume here. So, what I was trying to do was show you how this rear engine mount goes. It's gonna go right there. So we're gonna do not these bolts. These are just temporary. Don't get your shit in a bunch. Those bolts aren't deep enough. Okay. So something like this from what I've seen online. Okay, and then you take this guy, and this guy is gonna get welded to the frame from what I've seen online. I'm gonna have to confirm that. Basically, we're gonna put a bolt through here, like, you know, one of the right size, maybe. We got all these leftover bolts. There we go. There's a big one, and no, this one. Okay, so it's gonna be something. I keep stepping on my magnet. Sorry, magnet. Okay, something like, you know, keep that like that, and then we'll tack it in place. And they give you bolts in this Hasport mount, so I'm just kind of doing these as placeholders now to see how everything looks. So there's the 4 there. That looks good. That's got kind of, it's got a lot of wiggle, so I'm like apprehensive about welding this in without the motor on there. But I don't know yet. I don't know what the game plan is. So I feel like it would be best to have the motor in there, get at least like a little Sharpie mark on there, and then that way I kind of know that this little metal bracket down here is in the right spot. So anyways, that's the rear mount. We got the side mount still over here. I haven't welded that yet. And let's look at what's going on with the other side. I don't know if we leave this mount. I believe we do. And I don't know what's up with the front mount. That would be not a huge pain in the ass to cut off, but you know, enough. So let me do a little more research. After some sleuthing, I figured out that this is the rear motor bracket. This is the trans bracket. And this bracket that is on the TSX motor is not the right bracket. That's the bracket for the TSX mount. I need the CRV bracket. So I just ordered one of those on eBay. And then once I get that, we can mate the trans. We can put the clutch in, mate the trans, and put the brackets on, and then lift the motor, and then get everything pretty much ready to drop into the car. The only thing that I still didn't find much info on was the front mount, so still not totally sure about that. I'm gonna do a little research. I went to check this passenger side engine mount fitment out, and as you can see, it like kind of works but doesn't really. This is the TSX mount, And I'm pretty sure it goes like this with Hasport up, and the angle is like not right and the hole spacing is not right. So I did some browsing online, and I think this Honda part 1191-PPA-000, it's the CRV mount, CRV engine mount, and I think maybe RSX engine mount. The RSX may have a stud here, but I think they're pretty much the same. But yeah, that lines up pretty good. Angle's right, and stud, no stud, doesn't really matter. I mean, these threads are massively deep, so we're gonna just take this guy off, put this guy on, attach the hoist at probably 3 different spots, and then we're gonna get this in the air so that we can get the trans clutch fitted. And then the only thing that I don't have is the jack shaft housing for the rear of the motor, and I don't know if I have the jack shaft. I bought 2 RSX base shafts, axle shafts from some dude on Facebook, and I haven't opened the box, so I don't know if he sent me the half shaft, but they're all over eBay, and so are the housings. So if it's not in the box tonight, I will go order that so that we can get the half shaft on and the housing on, which is going to be on the back side of the engine / closest to the subframe, to make sure that we have clearance. I've always wanted to start like a nerdy game show called Guess That Bolt, Guess That Socket Size. So you can play along with me. What do you think these are? 3, 2, 1. I'm gonna say 17 millimeter. So 17. Oh shit, bust. It's like Price is Right rules. Probably 14. Yep. Anyone that guessed is better at that from video than I am. God damn. That's probably where I could use an impact socket on that thing. It's on there. That is one thing. Impact sockets do pack a different kind of hit than the chrome ones. They're just heavier, so they have more of that jacking effect. These appear to all be the same. Oh no, they're not the same. Yeah. Probably going to need new fasteners. These are probably going to be too long. Maybe. No, at least the bottom ones are fine. Okay, let's see if this seems like it's gonna bottom out. Yeah, that's, I need a shorter one up here, but that's fine. We got we got 2. Okay, so I think I don't know. I want to bolt this down and lift on this. Nah. Use a bolt chain to it. We'll go looking in the shed because when I built the Subaru, I bought a bunch of 10.9 bolts that are pretty long for doing an 1.5 inch spacer underneath it. So we'll toss that in there for now. And oh yeah, that's pretty good. Got some extra bolts we're gonna use here to hoist this thing up. Just kind of looking for the right size ones. Oh yeah, that's good. Good enough. Okay, we're gonna definitely, I'm gonna try and go find something for this in a second. Let's see, what do we need on the other side? So we're gonna press this down here. Okay, so I think, let's see, we're definitely gonna need this, but we're gonna lift here and here. I think that's gonna be fine for that side. I don't think we need to really grab anywhere else. And then we're going to lift, we want to be able to bolt the trans in, so we want most of that free. So I think we'll lift probably from, I think we'll throw a strap around the manifold here. For now, we just strap right around here, and then, or maybe through all three. We'll spread the load out. And then I think we'll get one more back here somewhere. Yeah, probably right here. I think. This is a 10 millimeter, so we'll throw one in here. So we'll lift two on this side and one on the other side. We'll get 3 points. It'll be plenty. Okay, went and found a little bolt stash. These are, oh, these are 10 by 1 1/4. That's like a pretty fine thread. I guess we'll see. Aha. Ho ho ho. In business. That's what I had from the Subaru build. Nice. It's always good when you tear down a motor to just throw the bolts in a bin, because you'll probably use them later. So I'm gonna put that there for now. And I need to go get a strap from the truck. Oh, duh. I was like, why is this so stubby? I'm an idiot. Yeah, let's try that again. So we're at the 1 ton setting. This thing's only probably 500 or 600 pounds. Make sure we're not bending anything, pulling on anything too hard. Against the wheel a little bit, but that should change. That's all good. Been on the tire for okay, okie dokie. might be able to finally get this fucking tire out of the garage. Okay, so we need this side so we can get the trans mounted. So, oh yeah, it's probably gonna be a new oil pan anyways. Got a little bash. Get a little bash. You know, I think the most awesome thing would be to have a crate to put between the fork legs and set this thing back down kind of on the crate, but we don't. So we could set down lightly on something. Mountain bike pad? Well, okay, so this has a flex plate on it, which I'll show you in a second, but that's basically what would come on the motor if it was in the automatic configuration. So I'm guessing that's what it was when it was in the car. So we're gonna set this down gently, see if it'll stand up on its own on the mountain bike pad. And then we're gonna take some stuff off of it. I think we'll take the flex plate off. We'll take some of these accessories off, maybe the exhaust. Yeah, let's just put a little tension on there. There we go. That's not bad. Okay. I'm okay with that. Let's see if the gun can do the flex plate. I don't know if it will. But yeah, the flex plate is a 12.17 millimeter socket. It's just a Honda thing, so actually let's zoom in on that. This is the flex plate. This is a 12 point. Oh. I think the gun is pretty charged. Yeah. Well, making life easier. Okay. So these say AT on them. You see that? That is probably to stop you from using. Oh yeah, that is definitely to stop you from using the manual ones, which here, you see this? Slightly different heights. So we know they say AT, so I don't have to really worry about them being organized. But I'll take this off. There we go. So the mainsail looks fine. I mean, it's a Honda. They don't fucking ever leak. It's a Honda. But it's got one dowel here. Looks fine. I ordered a dowel set. That's the other side. That'll help line the trans. The starter is backed out already right now, so we'll just leave that out. But I think we should just undress some of this mangled shit here. Some of it I kind of want to leave, just because it's going to represent some of the fitment with the car. But you know, when they pull these out of junkyards, they don't give a fuck. They just go to town. They cut all this shit right off. So sometimes that makes the job quite annoying. So I think maybe let's start with the exhaust. That's got to come off. Okay, yeah, take these off. I think that's oh, guess that bolt. 12. I'm gonna say 12. Sorry if I beat you to it, but I think it's 12. Okay, the shield is 12. I mean, look at these. These are high temp M8 bolts, M8 by 1 1/4. Learn that. These things are prime. These are prime for the basket. Okay, we're gonna need that again. Let's see. So exhaust studs. What's the name of the game? 14. I'd go with 14. Yep. Might need an extension. Oh, I just pull the whole stud out. Yeah, that's fine. Oh yeah, we're gonna need an extension there. Okay. Take that off. And it looks like down here, I'm not gonna get in there with that. There's just a 14 down at the bottom. Just a little vibration brace right in here. Oh, no, it's on there. All right. Cool. Not gonna need those. Some of them. I don't. We're not going to use that again either. Okay, and take a few more things off. These little hose clamps, these are like, that's gold. That's going right in the bin. Let's pull these off the AC compressor on this side. But for now, we need the long 10mm. Oh shit, I should have given you a chance on that one. I would like to keep this. I assume it fits, but no clue. Put these in the bin. Okay. So, don't really want to undress any of this because that all needs to be there, and I'd really like to see how it fits in the car. Oh, you can't see my hand. I don't want to undress any of this, the accessory stuff here, because I always see people put motors in these things and they pull all this shit off, and you're like, wow, that thing fits in there no problem. Because yeah, it doesn't have any fucking accessories on it. So, you know, power steering, alternator, AC. It's kind of important to have some of that stuff. I guess the one thing we don't need is power steering. Let's see. We need to put the trans on. Okay. Thought we'd just look at this real quick. So the guy did send me the jack shaft, which is sweet because these things are fucking expensive, especially for an OEM one, which I'm pretty sure this one is. I'll take this apart real quick so you guys can see it. Yeah, and it feels pretty good. I bet we can just pack some grease in there. Not totally sure what the procedure is. for greasing these things. It could probably use a little grease, but it's not bad. Bearing surfaces look good. They don't look like too worn or scratched. But yeah, this thing's gonna bolt to the back of the motor, and it's gonna be the extension for one of these axles. I think it is not this one. I think it's this one, since it's got this slip joint right here. And for those of you that don't know, the brilliant design here is that these aren't exactly the same length, but they're pretty close. And the jack shaft prevents you from having to have like one long axle. So I don't know if you've like ever seen a front wheel drive car where you have like one really long axle and one really short axle. This car kind of had that stock, common on front wheel drive cars. But what that contributes to is torque steer, because you have different amounts of inertia going through each of the axle shafts, which is why you feel like your one's getting torqued more than the other, essentially. And then that gives you weird feedback in the wheel, kind of makes it like you're fighting under heavy acceleration. So this little guy kind of prevents that, which is great because we're gonna be putting down a decent amount of power here. So it's cool that we have this, but we do need to go on eBay and find a shield, because the shield is kind of like wraps around the back of this thing. And I'm sure it just contributes to like the longevity of the seals and the part and the axle. So if we can keep that on there in the car, that's great if it fits. But I think we'll start with getting one of those so we know what the clearance looks like to the firewall and the rear, the rear of the front subframe of the car. So cool, that saves some money. We're gonna install the clutch. I bought this Clutch Masters pressure plate and clutch disc. It's supposed to be a stage 3 clutch, but I don't know. Upon first glance, a little skeptical about Clutch Masters here. But they have really good reviews. I don't know. I don't know, it doesn't look like the fucking picture. So that's not a good start. But because we're going turbo, we're gonna start with an OEM flywheel, which is right here, a little bit heavy. But the heavy pressure plate, or the heavy flywheel, will definitely help with boost. So I don't know. There's a good chance this will all come apart 100 fucking times, but we're gonna put the trans on. So if we're gonna put the trans on, we're gonna have the clutch in there, and we'll see how this all fits. Good thing about a stock flywheel is that they're like 90 bucks, brand new, which is fucking awesome. Anyways, yeah, we'll see if this all fits together. I have no idea. One thing you want to do, it doesn't matter on the backside, which I'm pretty sure that's the backside. Pretty sure the backside's the cast side, but you want to clean this side, the side that's going to contact the fiber clutch disc. You want to clean that thoroughly with brake cleaner before you install that. Same with this side of the pressure plate. Those two sides are going to grab the friction disc, and you don't want any grease on that thing, because you're going to get a hot spot on either your flywheel or your pressure plate. You can't machine the pressure plate. Well, I don't know. I don't know of many people that do machine the pressure plate. You can surface the flywheels, but it's almost not worth it at the cost. So the flywheel Should just pilot nicely on there, just like that. We're gonna go get a bolt so that we got one holding it in, or two. So not the ones that say AT on them. Okay, it's not going anywhere now. Okay, I'm gonna go get some brake cleaner. Oh, I already have some brake cleaner. I'm gonna go get a better fucking glove. You know what? I think at least the only part that I know of that truly sucks ass about creating videos is that I can't blare music while I'm working because of copyright law and audio, and just not really working for putting videos together. It's nice and silent. Like I said last time, we need the 17 point socket, 17 millimeter 12 point socket. That is the Honda way. I'm just gonna leave that out for now. Now that the bolts seat all the way, and assume that we don't need that. Another kind of fun fact, and I think we'll do this eventually because fairly certain we're gonna be back in here, but I don't necessarily think you need Loctite on these bolts because if you hit the specified torque for these, it really shouldn't be an issue. Proper bolted joint, like, you really shouldn't have an issue with keeping torque on these fasteners, but we will probably put Loctite on them. Like I said, I don't really think this is the last time we're gonna be in here, so we're not going to. I'm not even gonna torque them right now. We're just putting stuff together. I am gonna clean it up, but we're just slamming shit together. So I didn't really have a good clutch pilot tool. I took an 18 millimeter socket and just kind of filed it down, so we'll just get a tiny bit of that so we can cut that in and out. So, yep, real basic socket, drill, sandpaper on the tip. Just kind of take this down right there. And that's it. So you can see, we're gonna take this bore, which is like 23.9-ish. $23.99 there. $23.95. And this bore, which is 2406. So basically, this flywheel side, take this pilots very nicely here, and that pilot's snug there. So we basically just butcha. Oh wait, what is this? Flywheel side. Butcha. Okay, a little tight on that side. Oh, it's got like a flare at the tip. Is that not gonna go? Oh, it's tight. That's tight. It goes. It's tight. Okay. Hey, the flywheel torque that I found online is 76 foot-pounds. Okay, maybe we can do a little trick here. Remember when I said you should memorize this shit? Look at this hole. Tell me what you think. I'll give you 2 guesses. It's M8 by 1 1/4. And I know that because I have a ton of these M8 by 1 1/4 bolts laying around, which are great for like little scrap things like this. Just gonna thread this in. We're gonna thread this guy in. And then we're just gonna put this basically right here. All right, there we go. Let's try this again. Okay, 1. 2. 3. 4. Good God. 5. Okay. Uh-huh. It's all good. It's all good. Good. Okay. Is that all of them? That's good. That's good. 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 Okay. That's all torqued. Let's proceed. Okay, that's on there. We're gonna, usually these are asymmetric. You wanna line them up with these dowel holes and the corresponding bolt holes, and if they don't line up, then you gotta try a different dowel. That one doesn't look to line up, so we'll try this dowel. And that dowel, that seems to be pretty good. Yep. So it's on all 3 dowels. We'll get 2 screws in here just so it doesn't fall on the ground. Real quick. Last time had a little bit of a microphone issue, so I'm reshooting some of this. But basically what you're gonna do, we don't wanna use the gun. We're just gonna snug this up. So, we're gonna get all these in. Okay, so this is a pressure plate. So this pressure plate is not generically just going to be seated in the right spot. So you can see the gap here from here to here. So we're just going to tighten these up in a star pattern, and we'll tighten them to torque, which I'm going to go find. We're going to seat this down real quick. So I'm just going to do this by hand. Shouldn't be that hard. This, I don't think you really need to worry about doing in a star pattern. And I'm sure there's some people out there that would say star pattern doesn't really matter, but it's kind of the pattern you'd use when you're doing a head, and that does matter. So we're just gonna kind of do the same thing here. And right now, basically I'm just feeling the resistance of the actual pressure plate. So this spring-loaded plate is attached to a plate back here that's sprung from this housing. And so we're just basically reeling in that spring pressure with all of these bolts. $19 times 12, 228. Okay, that's pretty much maxed out for this little wrench. But we're just gonna, probably time to get a digital set. 228. So this is 220, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we're gonna just, and this one, we're gonna pull this out now. This one is not gonna be hard at all. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Okay, now that is on there. That's Gucci. So one thing that I was talking about last time that I don't think kind of made it onto this reel because I had some microphone issues, but as you can see right here, this is the starter, and the starter has basically little teeth in here. I don't know if you can see it well. So there's little teeth in here, and when you apply a shit ton of current to the starter, that little gear twists and shoots out. And when that gear twists and shoots out, it engages with this tooth pattern on the flywheel. And that's basically what cranks this over to get your compression turning so that you feed it fuel and spark and start the engine. So what I couldn't find online was if the stock TSX starter worked with the OEM CRV flywheel, and I kind of just spun it out by hand with a little pick, and I could see the teeth starting to engage. So yes, okay, this is a TSX starter, this is a K24A2 motor, this is a CRV flywheel, this is an OEM CRV flywheel, this is a clutch pressure plate and clutch friction plate from an RSX S model. So that's the stack up we got going here. Basically, you can see here, I just put on the new thrust bearing. So it's all Gucci. That is not an OEM bearing. When we are done with this project, we will probably put an OEM bearing in there. This is just the one that came with this Clutch Masters kit. Never ever put a non-OEM thrust bearing in there, because to replace this bearing, you have to pull the trans, and right now this looks like an easy job, but once the whole car is together, it's going to be a pain in the ass. And these little motherfuckers, these little bearings, when they're non-OEM, they aren't packed correctly with grease, the ball spec isn't very good, and basically what it amounts to is a chirping noise. You'll hear, when that bearing starts going bad, you'll hear a chirping noise from the motor, and it'll just be like, and it'll drive you insane, and eventually that bearing will fail. So just go to your Honda dealer, just suck it up and pay $70 for an OEM bearing. They're so much better. Anyways, now we'll just kind of time lapse getting this trans bolted to the motor. So we've got both dowels in here. Boom, boom. This one's probably in too far, but it's still going to do the trick. Oh, starter, right. Okay, so unfortunately, you can't really see it, but this hole gets bolted from the other side. This hole is going to be a through. This hole is going to be a through to the trans. So unfortunately, I mean, you can kind of see this. There's kind of enough room to get your fingers in here, but not really enough to get like a wrench and a bolt in there. So I don't know. I kind of wanted to leave the manifold in, so maybe we'll fuck with it for a little bit and see if we can get a bolt in there. And then if not, we're gonna just take the intake manifold off, since we're not using this one anyways. It's just, you know, even if we're not gonna use this one long term, I was gonna try and use this one to get the car started. And obviously we just put it back on, but it's kind of nice that it's already there, and it's part of what's holding up the motor right now. So yeah, let's try and just see if we can get a bolt in there. Okay, I've got the trans on a dolly, and the engine's like kind of adjustable on the stand. So we're gonna just see if we can get this in place. Just get this rested on a little rubber block back there so we can tilt it. We're gonna have to come up a little bit. For educational purposes here, one thing I did not check, but I'm fairly certain is correct, is that you can see here these splines on the transmission shaft. Those need to pilot into the clutch. So theoretically, yeah, we probably could have checked that with the friction plate out, but I'm pretty sure that's okay. So let's keep moving. Rule of thumb for design for these bolts is that you have a minimum of 1.5 D for thread engagement, which means 1.5 times the diameter for thread engagement in the hole. So when I put a bolt in there and I'm like, ah, that kind of looks right. This is a 12. That's a 12 millimeter bolt right there. So that means that at a minimum should be 18 millimeters of thread engagement. And just to give you a heads up on that, that's about 18 millimeters of thread engagement. The most ideal situation is that you have basically 2D for thread engagement, which 2D would be 24 on this bolt. So that would be like the most ideal, give or take. That's 2476. There we go. So about that. So this is basically how I know that when I put this bolt in here, and we're not fully threaded. So I've got about 15 there, plus a gap here of 5. So I've got about 20 millimeters of thread engagement. So this bolt, that tells me that that's the right size for that hole. So we'll put this one up here. Same thing. Looks pretty close. So again, that's when I say I'm like, oh yeah, I think it's that bolt. It's not pure dumb luck that I'm grabbing the bolt. I'm trying to make a pretty educated guess on that. So we're gonna keep going around. This is not the OEM deal here. Okay, cool. This is usually a sure bet for studs. You don't have to do anything crazy. Oh, that was a jinxed myself moment, wasn't it? Whoa. Oh. Okay. Oh, that seemed like he was doing something. That's a lot of force. Oh yeah. Doesn't even have thread locker on. It's just, oh, I guess it has a little bit of thread locker on there. I was in there fucking tight though. That's for sure. We're just bolting. Oh fuck! Need washers. We're bolting this transmission mount in. Big ol' boys. Want to guess the drive size? Guess that drive size. I don't know. I could do better. It's 19. Where the fuck is the gun? Okay. We're gonna do this by hand for now. Okay. All right. One Hasport mount in. We gotta do the back one real quick. Okay, did a little research. The rear bracket here gets bolted, basically the rear mount bracket gets bolted something like this. So this is again, OEM bolt here. This is the long one. So that we're gonna go through trans like this. I'm gonna stop and take a second to explain why this episode's going so slow. I bought the Hasport kit as a way to help expedite the process of getting this motor mounted to the EF. And I think we need to reflect a little bit on the kit. I don't like shit-talking companies that are just trying to make their way, but also when you spend an absorbent amount of money on a kit that's supposed to fit the motor to the car and it doesn't really do that, there should either be a disclaimer that says, hey, this kit is like kind of just gonna get you 50% of the way there, or don't fucking sell it. So let me point out a few things that are making it a problem with this kit to get this motor fit in this car. Again, this is really nitpicky because we're putting a motor and a transmission that shouldn't be in this car, and there's not a lot of people in the world that do this anyways, but just a word to the wise, I'm just gonna show you what's up. And then we're gonna have to cut this episode in half because we still have a lot left before the motor's in the car, even though it's in the car. So I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek here and bitch about some stuff, and then we're gonna cut to the end of the episode and start the next one where we do actually get the motor all the way in the car. Spoiler alert. And yeah, so let me show you a few things. First thing about this kit is you cannot actually pull the motor out of the car with this motor mount on, which means that you have to attach the hoist to a different part of the motor with a little less safety, I would say, as you can see. So passenger side motor mount has to be off to get the motor in the car. That's kind of a bummer. The second thing, I don't know if this is in focus. Let's see, maybe about there. These are all 12.9 bolts. And this is what came with the kit. Now, you would think, yeah, why not go with the stronger metal, right? Wrong. These are fucking magnetic. And as you can see, because they are glossy, they are zinc coated, or probably some equivalent of zinc coating. And when you coat high grade bolts, what happens? You get hydrogen embrittlement. And if you don't know that, and you don't know what you're fucking doing, you shouldn't be selling the goddamn thing. So anyways, you've got ultra high grade bolts that are just waiting to rip apart. Maybe that's why they put 3. So yeah, bad choice. Now, you can also see right here that little marking says 8.8 on the bolt. Those are also underqualified for what they're doing. That means their tensile strength and their yield strength is not sufficient to hold basically the amount of weight that they're holding in the vehicle that they're holding with, you know, predictably the amount of power that they're going to get to them. Those really should be 10.9 bolts. And they should just really be up to spec with the rest of the engineering that was done in 1989 on this car. Okay, here's the last thing. I've got this rear motor mount in the car. This is like kind of welded in, this part of the mount, and we may or may not keep it. I'm leaning towards not, but we'll see. I get that what they did was they were trying to make this mount kind of offset over here towards the driver's side so that, you know, you potentially could run a header straight down over the half shaft and out of the car. But we're running a turbo, so that's not as critical. And this mount on the back of the motor isn't completely in place, but a few things. One, this mount can't be in when you put the motor in, which isn't a huge deal. The other thing, though, is that there's a gusset here that goes to the back of the transmission, and this gusset doesn't fit with the subframe here. It just is going to knock all day. So that's kind of a problem. And then the biggest problem of all is that this guy slides in here and slides in there. You can see that. It's not in all the way. But that is a pitch mount. And that is not going to pinch mount anything because it's sitting at almost 80 degrees. So it's only going to take a portion of that pitch force vector and direct it the correct way into the mount. And most of it's not. So, you know, basically what's kind of what should happen is that this pitch mount should be sitting pretty much at this angle. This would be the proper angle for actual pitch reduction. So what I think I'm gonna do is take this mount and hack it into pieces and there's 4 large holes on the back of the motor here. We're gonna use those to design a proper mount for this pitch, the pitch thrust. And yeah, it just kind of sucks that, you know, you get something that's like $600 and you have to basically redo most of it yourself. So again, thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming along for the ride. I truly appreciate anyone who sits through some of this really boring shit. You know, hopefully the content will get better and better and better as we do things that are getting closer to making this car drive and fast and fun and finished. But, you know, in the meantime, I'm kind of showing everything and trying not to skip stuff. And that's why sometimes a lot of the episodes don't contain a lot of progress. So the next one I'll show you will be getting the rest of the motor in, which will include welding the passenger side mount, the rear mount, and getting everything clearance on the transmission to get it basically fitted with the subframe against the firewall. So again, thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you kind of enjoyed it. See you in the next one.